Hello, everyone. We're live here. We are live. It is Friday, I think. I think it's Friday. Yes, it is Friday. Hang on one moment here. It is Friday. Oops. Hello, everyone. Let's see who's here. Let's see who is here. Pat W. is here. Country Girl. Sharon Heberling. Crow Hogan. Old Farm Show. MG Monkey. Greg Smith. That Big Skeptic. Timmy Two Shoe. Darth Tater. Jen Down, Laura G, Calendar Page, BG Marzell, Laverne Thompson, Zipper, Miss Pac-Man, Kimberly Barr, Stephanie, 1K Sweaty Rikers, T-Sky, Nan B, Cat, Jen Down, Donna Smith, Zipper, Darth Tater. Darth, you don't like the theme? I'm sorry, I like the theme, Darth. Darth doesn't like the theme music. Not everyone likes everything. Kevin Michael Reed is here. Atanol. Brad, Lisa Remo. Brad, you haven't said snack time yet. Trace, Geraldine Carsonson, Flor Morena. Jade Angel, Darren Markley, I Hear Crickets. I Hear Crickets. Rosemary Randolph. Lisa Remo, Casual Flipper. Dan McIntyre, Sophia Maldonado. Says hola. Jamila. Shane Doucette, Atanol. How you doing, Sharon Heberling? Jan Porter. Miss Pac-Man. The Apostle Steve, Molly O, Max Rem, Becky. John Gidry, Gordon Gott. Brad said snack time. Steve Miller. Beezy is moderating. Raven Riley is moderating. Thank you. Michelle B. Let's see, who else? Schaff. Marlena Martirano. Manly. What razor do I use? Maybe I'll answer that question in a couple minutes. It's a little off topic. I use an electric razor. It's easier. It doesn't cut my face up either. Can Dandy is here. Let's see. Oh, MSU Kiwi. I have not done anything yet, but MSU Kiwi made a very kind donation, even though I have done nothing yet. At all. Thank you, MSU Kiwi. Hope things are good in New Zealand. The real Xander Bogarts is here. How about that? Darren Markley. Smoke Steve. Croat Chamblin. Oh, Walter Beasley. So nice of Walter. Next week, Walter might play sax for one of our streams, which will be incredible. Thanks, Walter. That's very kind of you. Backyard Zoology is here. Also here is David Green moderating over there on Twitch. Sharon C54 moderating on Twitch. Mr. Bryce GG. Blue Pip. Squeakers Anon. RJ Ryan 1 are all there on Twitch. Robin Banks is here. Paula Faust. Zipper. April Coco is here. Hello, April Coco. Usually at the start of the stream, I'm like digesting my food, and I'm kind of like, the energy's a little low, and then it tends to pick up when we get going. So, sorry if I'm a little low energy at the start of the stream. Oh, Hetty is here too. Special guest Hetty Silovitz is here. I have not eaten more Magic Spoon, but I'm going to let my nieces try it. Winding Road is here. Bob Messina is here. Bob says, play some Coltrane, Walter. So we are getting ready to stream. We might have a special guest later. My friend Dan, who wrote that book, and I went to Dan's book talk last night, Dan might call in. So we might have a call in from my friend Dan tonight. Maybe around 10. We'll see. He said he might be able to call in and talk about his book. It would be cool. He'll do it eventually, but he said he might want to do it tonight. Yeah, the electric razor I use, it's oh, did that go up in price? How much did I buy it for? Wow, it was expensive. I bought it 2 years ago. So I bought kind of a nicer electric razor. I don't like using the regular razor, the non-electric, because it cuts up my face. And I had one electric razor, which was like $80 or something, but it was fine. It left too much stubble. It didn't really get close enough. So I bought one which was supposed to be really good, which I've been using for over 2 years now. It's this Braun one, but it's like $300. But that's the one I use. But, you know, for me, it's like a work thing. You know, it's like, because I'm always on the air, so I figured it was a worthwhile expense. This is the one I have, the Braun electric razor, Series 9390cc. It's better than the cheaper electric razor, I'll tell you that. Yeah, it's a business expense. I mean, I use it, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying for me, I really use this for work. I would not shave. I have no great need to shave every day. I didn't shave today. If I was going to do a live stream, I might shave. A lot of times if I have to do a live stream and I haven't shaved, I'll run in there and shave right before the live stream because it just looks better. But if I weren't streaming, I would shave much less. But it just looks better when you stream to be shaved. Here is the Braun electric razor Series 9. It's the one I use. As an Amazon associate, I earn for qualifying purchases. I gotta make an Amazon video about this because I've been using it for 2 years, so I know what I'm talking about. I really should do that. Maybe I'll do it later tonight. Kevin, if news broke right now, depending on how urgent it was, I very well might shave. I might do like a quick 2-minute shave. I've done it before. If you have time to do it, it's worth doing it. I mean, this doesn't shave as close as a you know, just a regular handheld non-electric razor, but it does a good job. April, this one is it self-cleaning? It has a thing where you, the base cleans it, but you have to buy these cartridges of this liquid that you keep in the base. And the liquid cleans it and sanitizes it, sterilizes it. So yes, I have the thing where you buy the cartridges and it cleans it. It's actually kind of tough to keep, the way it is, it's a little tough to keep it clean if you're not doing that. Like the blade part. But yeah, so I mean, if you're looking for closer than like a handheld, closer to like a non-electric, that's not going to give you this. This is not going to give you that, but it's good. I like it a lot. I've been using it for 2 years. Over 2 years, actually. Yeah, a lot of electric razors aren't that expensive. I had a cheaper one, which was like, the one I used to have was like probably $80 or something, but didn't do as good a job. Yeah, that one is known as like a really good one. Yeah, I had a Remington one that was like $40. I got to do a video on this too. For a while, I used this Remington one, which is a perfectly good one. It just doesn't shave as close. This Remington, boy, that really has gone up in price. When I bought that, well, I actually bought it 5 years ago. It was $40. Now it's $60. But yeah, it's not as expensive. This one doesn't shave as close. Also, it can cut your face a little bit. Whereas the one I have, the Braun, never cuts my face and it shaves closer. Ron B says, my electric razor does okay, but they are very expensive. Dallas Alice says, my husband went from an electric razor to blade. He's got all these face creams and stuff. Darren has a beard. Polly says, I used the Braun Series 7 for years, but I switched to the Norelco 7700. I like the round heads better now. I've never used a Norelco, Polly. Never tried it. Polly uses this one. That's like the price in the middle. Norelco 7700. You can ask Polly about that one. Oh, there's also a 7800. Now there's a 7800, which I guess is the newer version. It's $130. Prime early deal. Hey, it's a prime early deal. Because I guess Prime Deals Day or whatever it is the 10th and 11th. So this one's on sale. Hang on. I'll post it in the chat. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. I just posted the link there. Anyways. I would assume that women have different types of electric razors, correct? I would assume. If they want to use one. I don't know for sure. I've never really checked. P-Morph is here. Gordon says, the first time I tried an electric type razor, my face was raw for a day. Yeah, when I first started using it, I'm totally used to it now, though. I've been using them for like 6 years, 5 years. April Coco says, the Norelco is the one I use. It's not bad. Neeby is here. Lucky Chucky is here. K Body is moderating. Hello, K. Thank you. Blue Pip is here. Mrs. Jennifer Wise is here. Old City Penvash thinks electric razors and toothbrushes are a ripoff. Oh, I don't agree with toothbrushes being a ripoff. Are you kidding me? Also, the razor, it's valuable for me. I like not having to use shaving cream in my non-electric razor. For me, it's worth it. But toothbrushes are amazing. Mr. Bryce says, I like the safety razor where I can change blades and shaving cream. I get a closer shave. Joanne Monahan is here. Polly says, my ex-girlfriend used mine on her face. She was okay with it. I think Polly is joking. Oh my gosh. Kevin Michael Reed just went crazy generous. Kevin Michael Reed just went crazy generous, and he gave you guys 50 gift memberships. Wow. Thank you, Kevin. Look at all those new members. Look at all those new members. Wow. Tom Mick, Sophia Maldonado, Renee Marie, Mr. Spike. Can't even keep up here. Mr. Spikeheiser, Diane Dean, Electron Magnet, Smoke Steve. These are all from Kevin. Oh my gosh. Zinc Man, Matthew, Sandor. Still catching up. Betsy's Barn, Fangirl, Robin, Evasive Snail, Manic Miner, Electron Magnet. Kevin says there weren't enough shirts in chat. We had to fix that. That's very nice of you, Kevin. Wow. Very generous of Kevin. Casual Flipper got one. Denal the Hunter. Manly. Manly likes Taylor of Old Bond Street shaving cream. I never use shaving cream anymore. I just have an electric razor. Carrie, Christy, gifted a membership. Gloria, Greenlight, Kelly Jones. Look at all these new members. Thanks to Kevin Michael Reed. Oh my gosh. SL is here. Neil, Veggie Sandwich, Rockwell Norman, JB, Charles Phipps, Carrie C. They all got memberships from Kevin Michael Reed. Wow. Very nice. A lot more shirts there in the chat now. I Hear Crickets is a new member. Thanks, I Hear Crickets. Thank you. D Nice thinks blade razors are nicer. Electron Magnet is here. TB Lightning Fan. Pretty nice out here tonight. 65 degrees. It's going to get colder like next week here. Oh, Theodore Johnson became a member. Thanks, Theodore Johnson. I appreciate that. Theodore Johnson. Suave 12209 is here. Old City Penvash says electric toothbrushes and razors are always on sale at like 50% off, and they must still make a profit. I think they're good. I can't speak to their profit margin. Hal Face is here. JA&P is modding. D Nice says 89 here in East Bay, California. SL says my husband needs a new trimmer set. I do not have a trimmer set. I've never tried water flossing, P. Morph. I know nothing about it. Oh, thanks to Donna Smith. Donna Smith with the heart. The heart Bush. What is that guy? The guy's called a Bushiba or something. Is it Bushiba? There's a name of that character. Thanks for the super chat. Donna Smith, the super sticker. Wow, very nice of Donna Smith. I haven't even done anything yet. I know it's Shibu Inu, but the YouTube has a certain character name for it. I think it's called Bushiba. Oh, thanks, Gordon Gott, as well. Oh my gosh, you guys are so nice. Gordon Gott says, hi, mods, we have the best. We do. We do. Very nice of Gordon. Thank you, Gordon. Sharon C54, Skipfu, and David Green are over there on Twitch, and K, Body, JA&P, Raven Riley, BZ, all over there on YouTube. Linda Belk as well. Hey, Suave 12209. Pickled Grammar says, why does it sound like someone's teapot is going off? Because you're hearing the crickets. Winding Road is here. Got a nice breeze coming in tonight. Here, I told you, Bushiba super stickers. I told you guys. One moment. What happened here? See, it says Bushiba super stickers. The Anyways agency hired us to develop a pack of super stickers with kawaii themed. We created the character of Bushiba. He's a Shiba who lost his owner, turned to a life of motorcycles and mischief. Now he's turning over a cool new leaf. That's Bushiba. What can I say? That's who it is. That's the character. Okay, so again, this is garbage. Hold on a second here. Oops, what is going on here? What is going on here? So again, I want to quickly mention, oh, thanks to Winding Road for the super sticker. Wow, so nice of you guys tonight. I really appreciate that. Winding Road, thank you for the remote controller super sticker. And SL, oh my gosh, always the best shopping info here. Wives can make our gift list for our hubbies. LOL. Hey, thanks, SL. Wow. I'm glad you find some useful shopping tips. I try to pass along the good ones I know about from personal experience. Thank you, SL. As I said, when I come on, first few minutes, a lot of times I'm kind of digesting my food, kind of chilling, a little bit low energy. Normally it picks up during the stream. Let's hope that happens. And I mentioned that my friend Dan might call in around 10 p.m., although I don't know for sure. You guys have never met Dan before, unless you met him in your private life. I went to Chinese food with my mom. It was excellent. We had a good time and had some excellent Chinese food. And I also want to mention, I'm going to promise you guys this so you can hold me to it. As many of you know, 07 is here. 7 says, I bought the Mac massage thingy you showed last night. Can't wait. Let me know how you like it, 7. I think it's free returns if you hate it. I think it might be. I'm not sure about that, but you might be able to return it. But hopefully you like it. CC Cat is here. Oh, AJ is here. Hello, AJ. So you guys know I want to put together the shelves. The second set of shelves I need to put together in the studio downstairs so we can get into that studio. And I got to do it during the day. So I haven't gotten to it. So what I'm promising you right now You got to hold me to this. I'm promising you that tomorrow during the day, tomorrow afternoon, we'll do a stream where we put together the shelves in the new studio tomorrow afternoon. So there, I've gone on record saying it. So let's do it tomorrow afternoon. Get it done. Kay says, sounds great. If I break my promise, what happens, says One Way Street. That I don't know. Stephanie says, can't wait. Excuse me. Papa Tom says, let's go. Yeah, probably around like 3 my time or something, 2 or 3. But we got to do it. We got to get it done. Got to get it done. Terry says, I'll be there. Yeah, if no breaking news, as Pat says. If there's news, then obviously we won't be doing it. Right, as Richard Williams says too. Richard Williams is here from the UK. Zipper says, I'll go for my walk early and be there. Yeah, we just need to get it done. Once we get it done, we can start doing a bunch of other stuff down there. But we gotta get it done. It's ridiculous. I just haven't had time during the day I've been kind of busy doing some things during the day this week. I would do it now, but I can't because it's too noisy to do it at night. William Thomas from the UK is here. Sing Neon says, tomorrow's my birthday. Happy early birthday, Sing Neon. Did I use the chopsticks? No, not yet, John Denry. But I will. Keep asking me. Derek says it's been relatively quiet news this week. Yes. Yes, it has. This whole week, except for a couple things. Do I get complaints about the noise? No, because I don't make noise. If I was hammering at 10 o'clock at night, I think I'd get complaints. Maybe we'll open a couple more packages too. Oh. Fox 2319 is here. Yeah, this always happens at the start of the streams. I got to get my energy level up. Usually it just happens. It just kind of gradually picks up. I saw you at the book event on Facebook. Oh, the picture? Yeah. That's cool, Derek. Yeah, that there's a picture of me and my friends. It was fun. Yeah, so Dan is supposed to come on maybe tonight. We'll see. Hopefully he can make it. Bridget McGowan is here. Gary Hammonds is here. Lisa Remo is here. Yeah, so it's time. Now that we've opened a bunch of the packages, it's really time to get downstairs to that set. It really is. Probably a couple packages I can open in the meantime, though. All right, we talked about the razor. We talked about the razor. Last night we talked about mirrors for an hour. Lucia Rinca Estevez is here. You know what I noticed? So I'm replacing. I'm upgrading my phone because my phone's a couple years old. I use my phone for work all the time, and I like shoot videos on it and live streams. So I always tend to get like a pretty advanced phone. And so the iPhone 15 came out a couple weeks ago. So my phone is 2 years old, so I'm going to upgrade to that. Pay some and upgrade to that. But it's a little delayed because I'm buying it from my cell provider because I get a discount. But maybe it could be here in a couple weeks. But I've been looking into iPhone cases, like custom cases, and like some of the cases are really expensive now. Like there's this one case that a lot of channels recommend. It's a popular case called like a mouse. It's called a mouse case, MOUS, and they cost like $70. A lot of cases now for phones cost like $60 and $70. And I was like, when did that happen? I didn't know there were these cases. And these aren't like weird niche cases. These are pretty popular cases. I don't know if you guys have any of you guys have bought one of those. I hear Crickets likes OtterBox. Richard says the 15 has a 5x optical zoom. You'll notice the difference with that for outdoor streaming. Nice. Crow Hogan has a mouse case on 14 Pro and definitely recommend the brand. Works great and helps survive drops when I drop it. Linda has an OtterBox. Kay has OtterBox. No, the painters have not been back here yet since they came. So no touch-ups yet. Richard Williams says you can zoom in on Crazy Geese. Crispy uses Spigen cases. A lot of you guys use OtterBox. Clory uses OtterBox. The case I currently have this is just an Apple case for my phone, my iPhone 13. And like, I don't love the case. I don't mind the case. This case is a real pain to get on and off. It's really hard to get off the phone, this case. It's hard. It's a pain in the butt. Can someone tell Ian the rule about news? Bill is here. One Way Street says, I use one with a wallet in the back. I never carry a wallet anymore. I've never used one of those wallet cases. They have these cases that the wallet attaches by a magnet to the back of the phone. But I already have a small wallet. So what do I need my wallet to attach to the back of? I feel like that would make me drop stuff. Because I'd start using the phone and forget the wallets on the back. Winding Road uses a wallet case for Android. Linda says, I'd be afraid that the wallet would unattach itself. Me too. Lori says, my husband accidentally ran over his phone with his truck when he was in the OtterBox case and it was fine. Yeah, what's the big benefit to having the wallet magnetic case as opposed to just having a small wallet? One Way Street says, I hated sitting on my wallet. I get sciatica sitting on it. Oh, for years I've had a very small wallet, which just fits a few cards in it, for years. But it's not a magnetic case. Crow Hogan had a Moose flip wallet and liked it. And liked Moose customer support and had a good magnet, said Crow Hogan. Mark French is here. Anyways, I don't have, like, I haven't heard the compelling reason for me to get a wallet that attaches to my phone. Oh, Dr. Alberts likes Casetify. Those are expensive too, the Casetify cases. I've heard about those. A lot of these cases, 60, 70 bucks or more. Do I use Apple Pay? Sometimes. Why do you ask? Why do you ask? One Way Street says just less and less reasons to carry a wallet. Terry says, now I feel embarrassed. My iPhone case was $10. I'm sure it's fine. The other problem with phone cases is, like, you kind of want to try them in person because you don't really know how it's going to feel in person. You want to compare them in person too. Is there any way that where you can do that? Aside from buying the cases yourself and returning them, is there anywhere you can go to just, like, try the different cases and compare them to each other? Malls? Do malls have all the cases? Linda, I have iOS 17. It seems fine. Haven't any big problems. All right, we got to get the energy level up. Gear changer is here. Gear changer says, I just had Motorola 2-year-old screen replaced, $150 AU. Motorola what? Like a cell phone? Miss Holly says, I got an OtterBox with a built-in pop socket for the phone. I really like it. Zipper says malls have case kiosk stores. I've never been to a case kiosk store. All right, hold on. I gotta take a shot. Hang on. We gotta pick up the energy. You know what might pick up my energy? Again, my friend Dan might call in like a half hour. You know what might pick up my energy is maybe we'll open a package. That'll pick up my energy. Let's do that. Let's open something. Should we open something? Why don't we do that? That sounds fun. It's time. You know what we have to do? We have to try this magic tree that was sent to me by Joanna's brother, who is serving time for shoplifting. This thing from last night, it says magic something. Why is this not focusing anymore? Focus. Paper magician blossoms that. Remember this thing? No, at slow, Casey, I'll be on my energy will pick up. Oh, it comes with water? They actually shipped water with it? What? Well, that's crazy. Assemble tree. Separate and bend tree branches. Cut off corner of packet and... Oh, it's not... Maybe it's a special liquid. Ugh. Squirt liquid into base. Place tree in middle of liquid. Do not place in windy area. After liquid is completely dry... Kind of hard to read. After liquid is completely dry in only 15 to 30 minutes, beautiful blossoms will begin to appear. So I don't even know, how does this work? Look at these things. It's like paper trees. How do I do this? There's 2 packets of liquid. Hey, David G is a new subscriber. Thanks, David G. Are there 4 of these trees? Assemble trees. Oh, there's like 4 different trees. I don't even know how this is supposed to work. It's so confusing. Oh, there it is. You want to do? I'm going to put it next to me, and then I'll let you guys look at it, and then I'll go back to it. I'm going to show it on the air with my phone. Okay? And then it comes with a couple of these things of liquid. Why did it only give me 2 liquids and 4 trees? That's a little confusing. Unless this is just water. Why would they send me a packet of water? Sounds like sea monkeys. All right, so I'm going to take this paper tree thing and I'm going to pour the liquid into it. Then I'm going to let it sit and we'll check back in on it, okay? I'm confused. Do not drink. Let me get the scissors. It's really weird that there's like, they don't even tell you what's in this thing. Who knows how this is going to work out? Dr. Alberts is here. Linda, I have your scissors. All right, so I cut off the corner of this thing. I'm going to pour this liquid into this. I'm pouring the liquid into the base. The liquid is now in the base. The liquid is in the base, and then I'm going to put the tree inside there. All right, guys, I'm going to actually right now show you on my phone what's going on with this tree. Hold on. Oh, no. Wait a second. Let me get this on my phone. Let me pull this up here, guys. Ready? Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to see this? Okay, there it is. So I have the water in the base, and there's no blossoms yet. The liquid is moving up the tree. I need the new iPhone with better zoom in. No blossoms yet. That's half a tree? Is it? No, I think it's a full one. Oh, I guess I can put one on top of this. I can put one on top of this. I see. You can combine two of them because it's got an opening at the top. So let me put this one on top of it. Good eye. There it is. I made a full tree now. It's a full tree now. Move this cable out of the way. There's no blossoms yet. It's not doing anything. It said 15 to 30 minutes to blossom. Oh, I didn't spread the branches. Oh, no, I didn't do something I was supposed to do. What was I supposed to do with the branches? It said separate and bend tree branches. Oh, no, I didn't separate and bend the tree branches. Hold on. Hang on a second here. Hang on. I don't even know how to do that. Separate and bend tree branches. I think I see what they're talking about. I got it. That'll take 5 seconds. I'm all over it. You get the branches need to be separated, but I got it, guys. I'm on it. I'm on it right now. Don't worry. Don't you worry. I am separating the tree branches. I'll show you in a second. Hold on. As we speak, I am separating these tree branches, which I didn't do. Thanks for reminding me. So stupid. Messed up everything. One moment. One moment. I'll show you in a sec what it looks like here. I'm almost done separating the branches, I think. What a disaster. Should have separated them before. All right, this is only going to partially work. Let me show you what it looks like now. So I did sort of separate the branches. It's kind of a mess. But nothing's happening to them yet. Let me separate them a little more. Like on the top there. Oh no, now what did I do? Okay, I'm just leaving it like this. When is it gonna change? Nothing's happened. I did pretty good. I don't think I did that good, David G. It can sit next to the plant. I did not separate a couple of these branches. One moment, it says, people are saying be patient. One moment, let me just separate a little more. Oh, you couldn't see what I was looking at, could you? One moment, guys. One moment here. Yeah, this is a giant mess now. It's a giant mess. Yeah, the napkin holder is great. Do something. Should we check back in later? Let's open another package. We can open a different package. At some point, it'll do something. Gotta fix the base here. At some point, supposedly, it'll do something. Yeah, it comes with some color on the cardboard. I don't know why. Okay. So we'll check back in like 10 minutes to that thing and see if it does anything. Hey, look at everybody on Twitch. We got Flaps over there on Twitch. Blue Pip is there on Twitch. Blue Pip says we turned a tree into cardboard to make a tree. Flaps wants to know where people can send packages. Is the command UPS? Is that what it is? I forget what the command is to... Oh, I think I did it wrong. Oh, no, I did it right. There it is. I think it worked. Why didn't it come up in Twitch? My address came up on YouTube, but not on Twitch. Oh, USPS? Yeah, is Nightbot not working on Twitch? Hey, mods, I think Nightbot isn't working on Twitch. Because it just came up in YouTube, but not Twitch. Skipfu says Nightbot is less educated here. I just posted it myself. Skipfu says we can get that fixed. Nothing to speak of yet with the tree. So hopefully tree soon. In the meantime, let's open one other thing here. I got this package today. I got a package today. I don't know what it is. So we can open this one while we're waiting for the tree. Miss Pac-Man says, send sauces. I like snacks. I like when people send me snacks that I could try on the air. That's always particularly fun. Okay, who is this from? Will we be able to open this now? Who is this from? Hey, Rose Station is here. I know it's a package I picked up today. It's crazy. Oh, this is from MJ. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on this one because MJ sent it. Hang on a second. We're pretty. Dallas Alice says you hated my Parm crisps. I don't remember. You seem very bitter tonight, Dallas Alice. Mr. Malibu is here. So if MJ stops by, I think we're almost caught up on packages, except I have a bunch from MJ, like a bunch of some stuff here. So if she stops by, we can really make progress next time she comes by. Guys, there's nothing happening with this tree so far. Oh, Dallas says she was sad. Well. April says April ordered the wooden chopsticks and spoon. Let me know how you like them, April. I'm looking forward to using my chopsticks. I was out with my mom tonight for dinner with Chinese food. I should have brought them with me. That would have been weird. I'll use the chopsticks at home and I'll report back to you. Yeah, I don't know if Dan, my friend, is calling in. We'll probably find that out very soon. He said he was going to text me if he could call in. But I haven't heard from him yet. Raven Riley says, I got the French fry seasoning so good. That's awesome. I haven't actually used it on French fries yet. I assume Parm crisp is Parmesan crisp, right? No? Anyone? I can't remember. And again, tomorrow my intention is to put together the shelves in the afternoon. Parm crisps. Oh, I remember these. Yeah, they were really cheesy. They were fun to try, though. I let my nieces try them, too. These were really fun to try. They were just incredibly cheesy. Dallas says they're quite potent. Yeah, those were really cheesy. But I like when people send in snacks, it's fun to try those. Then we can introduce snacks to our audience. Kay says, I get them at Sam's Club. Oh, Raven Riley says, I used the seasoning on sweet potato tater tots in the air fryer. Nice. I'll have to try the French fry seasoning myself. You know what's crazy? I just had a really weird moment. So I looked at the screen and I said to myself, oh, that's kind of a weird illusion that if you stare at it, it sort of looks like the Parm crisp is moving. And then I saw it moving a lot and I was like, what the heck is going on? But now I realize it really is moving on the screen. I saw it moving on the screen, and I thought it actually wasn't moving on the page. No joke, that just happened. I was like, what is happening? But now I realize it's just like that on the page. It's weird, though, because it's not moving that much on the page. You'd expect a little more movement. Kind of a strange, and nothing else is moving on the page. Aravic says, I see it now soon, too. Flaps15 says, cheesy illusion. I was scared for a second. Aravic says, it should rotate at least. MSU Kiwi says, is it like that when you put one on the desk? I don't remember them hovering. I thought it was my eyes, Skip Fu. The tree is doing nothing so far. Hey, Don Coven is here. Good to see you, Don. Yeah, I gotta wait on MJ's stuff until MJ comes by. All right, hang on a second here. Quick news check. Quick news check. Nope, not seeing anything big and new right now. Okay. So we'll see if my friend calls in. That's very possible. That is possible. In a couple minutes, we're going to check in on this tree thing, which doesn't seem to be doing anything. That's very unexciting at the moment. Let's see here. Tom Nick says, how dare MJ have something else to do on a Friday night? Harumph. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to show you guys a video I made for Amazon because I thought it was a fun video. I thought it was a fun video myself. So I wanted to show you guys that. If I can find it here. Oh, by the way, with the tree, they sent 3 packages of water total, not 2. It's weird. They sent 3 packages of water in 3 stands. Then how many trees did they send? 2? It's really confusing. No, and like 4, and they sent 3 trees, and a tree is 2 things combined. Okay. Yeah, nothing is happening with the tree yet. It's just sitting there. So I want to show you an Amazon video I made. Let's see here. The Amazon stream. I have to find this. Where is it? Let me open up my page and go to God, the search function is so bad for this. I got it. I found my stream. Or I found my video. Okay, I'm going to show you a video I made. The video I made is for the OXO, the OXO Good Grips extendable duster. See that? It's an extendable duster. It extends like 6 feet or something like that. You can rotate the cleaning head and stuff. I'll post a link to this, but I'm going to show you the video. No, they didn't send me that. I bought it myself. I bought that myself. Then I posted a video about it. But I want to show you. Tom says, good for getting tops of fan blades. Let me show you the video I made. because I did a review of it on Amazon. But I just need to get that up on the screen. Okay, here is my video I made. Here we go. Are you ready for my video? Here is my video right now. Hold on, I'll make it a little bigger for you guys. Make it a little bigger. There we go. Now it's a little too big. All right, here is my video that I made for Amazon. Can't hear myself. Why can't I hear myself? It's muted. This thing is so fun. Yeah, I said it fun. We're looking at the OXO extendable microfiber duster, and I'm sure there's plenty of reviews that talk about how effective it is and how helpful it is for your cleaning and all that stuff. But something else you should know is it's just fun. It's so fun to use, and I think the fun comes because it takes these tasks, these cleaning tasks, that previously were so frustrating and annoying, and maybe so annoying that you wouldn't even do the cleaning task. And it makes it easy. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is so easy now. I used to get so frustrated about this. So I'm going to give you some examples. But first of all, let me show you. Now I'm going to do this with one hand because I'm holding it's very easy with two hands, but I'm holding the phone with one hand. So first of all, you can extend this out. You can extend it out. See, I just extended it more. So I just extended it more. And second of all, you can pivot the head here. So you can pivot it like this and it locks into place there. Or you can pivot it like 90 degrees and it locks into place there. You know, there's different positions where it locks into place. Okay, so just as an example, take dusting the top of the fridge. Now, if you're like me, you like to once in a while dust the top of the fridge, right? But what could happen when you try to dust the top of the fridge, if you have a cleaning cloth or something, you get here and it's so hard to get back there and you can't do it and it's so frustrating and you're like, oh, I could get a step ladder and reach all the way over, but it's a pain and you just don't do it and you leave the back of the fridge not dusted. Well, not anymore, because now I have this giant thing. Oh my gosh, it's so easy. I just did it. I'm dusting the back of the fridge. It's so easy. I'm not even moving. It's just amazing. So that takes care of that. Oh, look. Hey, you know what? I like to dust, the top of door frames and stuff. I'm never going to be able to dust that. What am I going to do? If I want to dust all the way up on the top of that frame, I'm going to actually go and get a step ladder. Oh, that's going to be annoying. It's going to take so much time. Not anymore. Why? Because I will just pivot the head here. Done, done, boom, boom, boom. Getting it done, all dusted, very easy. That's done, done. Also, hey, let's hold on a second here. Let me just get this screwed in here. Hey, you know what also? You know what? Hey, you know what? I think I see some cobwebs in the corner over there. But what am I going to do? I can't climb up there. I guess I got to get a step ladder again. And go to get the step ladder and climb all the way up there and then reach up there with my microfiber cloth. Who wants to do that? Well, I don't have to anymore. I'll just do this. I'll just do this. It's done. It's done. I just did it. It's all done. Oh, I can dust all around here. I mean, if you got a step ladder, you could only get one spot. But with this thing, I could just do this. Look, I just got the whole area up here. I just dusted everything. Oh, I'm going to dust this part. I could use this thing and stand in the middle of the room, and I could get all of this part of the ceiling here. I could do it all in probably 12 seconds. Try that with a step ladder. We have to move the step ladder every few feet. So look, this thing is so fun, and I recommend it. Look at this thing. It's great. It's just fun. Take the, I would say, get the extendable OXO microfiber clean duster and take these tasks that previously annoyed you so much you probably wouldn't even do them, and now they've suddenly become fun because you are in control of the dust. The dust is no longer in control of you. Come on, that's a pretty good review, right? By the way, nobody paid me for that review. That was just an honest review. That was literally my thinking. When I first opened the thing and tried it, I'm like, this thing is crazy. Nobody paid me for that. I'll post the link to it, but I'm telling you, that was my honest thought when I first started using it. Hey, I wonder if my review is on the page. I wonder if my review is on the product page. Let's see. Ooh, hold on. I gotta get rid of this. Okay, if we go down here, is it there? You know, it's weird with these product pages. Sometimes Amazon is weird. Sometimes they have the videos on the product pages, and sometimes they don't. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, it is. See, so on this one, if you go to videos, it's right there. Related videos. And it says Lookner Amazon reviews. If you did like the video and you want to give it a thumbs up, you can go here and you can... Oh, it doesn't even give you a thumbs up option. I don't know. Sometimes it gives you a thumbs up option. I guess there's no way to give it a thumbs up. It's there. Is so fun. Yeah. Anyways. Amazon experiments a lot with like the placement of the videos, and sometimes they're on the page and sometimes they're not. We're looking at, you know, they put them different places on the page. So it looks like they're there today, but they're harder to find extendable. Right now. It's not, it's like, sometimes it's just down here. But it's not there right now. Yeah, it says like videos, and there's no videos down there. I don't know. Anyways, yes, the head is machine washable. So you don't have to get one if you don't want to. That is my genuine review of the thing. No one paid me for that. It was very funny when I first started using it. I was like, this is crazy. Let's see here. T-Sky says sold. Lynn says I'm a Swiffer gal. Maybe Swiffer has a long one too. That's a really long one. John Gidry says QVC is calling. Thanks, Leonette. David G says that's a great review. My girlfriend has allergies and the dust is definitely in control of her. Paula Thompson says, man, now I'm going to have to dust. I was ignoring it so well too. 8 is here. Thanks, Leon Reuter. Jimmy ZNJ says, I can clean my neighbor's house too with that reach. Polly says, so many step ladders in this guy's life, and I was praying. Because like often you feel like the only way I can dust something is with a step ladder. Then you get that thing and it's like comical. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a giraffe. I think giraffes are really funny because giraffes' necks are so long. It's just your normal notions of distance don't apply to giraffes. Something really far away for you is just like right next to a giraffe. And once you get that duster and you extend it and you start dusting with it, you're like, well, my notion of things that are inconvenient to dust has just been blown out of the water. Anyways. April Coco says, kids will love it. I bet you could get your kids to dust with that thing. Brandon said it was an expert video. Well, I did enjoy using it. I haven't. So, again, it's a fun thing to use. Pam says she was walking all over to see where the crickets were. Yeah, I have the window open. Rita says, my nephews love the vacuum. They should pay me because that's a good review. Ben Northern Lights is here. Hijack N said infomercial. Pure Natural Talent is here. Flaps, the books I did, the covers were done by friends of mine who I paid to do it. Excuse me. How long does it last? That I don't know. I think you can buy a replacement duster head, but I mean, hopefully it lasts a little while. It's also, something long like that is also fun because you can walk around the room and maybe there's like a baseboard that's dusty and you just don't have to bend down. You just dust it with the thing. You just hold it. Even the handheld one is good too. The handheld one is good too. The head of the duster, you can either shake it out or you can use water, just regular, rinse it off in water, or you can put it in the, you can machine wash it. Although when you machine wash it, you want to wash it with other microfiber. Stephanie says, don't have to break your back dusting anymore. It's weird though, because like when I got it, I was like, oh, I probably should have had this a long time ago. The tree did nothing. The tree was a giant failure. Nothing has blossomed on the tree. Majestic is here. We're going to give my friend Dan a few more minutes. He might be calling in, so we're going to give him a few minutes and wait and see. Rita, thanks for stopping by. Miss Pac-Man says, I vacuum mine. You vacuum the head of the duster. Chris B says, I think if you do enough good video reviews, Amazon starts sending you things to test for free. Well, they let me be in the Vine program, but I haven't found anything I wanted to order from that yet. Babs Bunny is there. Babs Bunny had chemo. I hope you're feeling better, Babs Bunny. Hannikin says, my sister got a whole set of cleaning devices that attach to a long pole from Dollar Tree. She said they worked fine. Is this tree a failure? Is this tree a failure? Let me show you guys. Let's go back to the tree. Tree check-in. I'm not seeing anything. It's supposed to like bloom or something. Tom Mix thinks it's a late bloomer. Thanks to our mods, Raven Riley, JANP, BZ, all here. Dawn Coven, Linda Belk, K-Body, David Green, Sharon C54, and Skip Fu. I've never used a magic eraser. It says that the tree's supposed to take 15 to 30 minutes. I think it's already been 30 minutes. It's done nothing. All right, so I'm glad we showed you that. I'd been meaning to show you that. So that's good. So I'm just going back over a couple things here. Hey, Yvette Evelyn came by. Hello, Yvette. Pat W. I know Pat W is here. Let's see. John Gidry thinks it'll bloom in the spring. Oh, I wanted to just check the news really quick. Yeah, it's been pretty slow news-wise lately. Not a lot of huge news stories lately. Well, it's good though because we've caught up on a lot of the packages, and as I said, tomorrow I'm planning on doing the in the studio downstairs. I'm planning on doing the put together the rest of the shelves, so the timing will work out because I feel like we've made good progress on the packages. Sea monkeys are what? The sea monkeys are. What are those things? What are they actually, sea monkeys? Brine shrimp. They are brine shrimp, sold as novelty aquarium pets. They are sold as eggs intended to be added to water. Interesting. Did anyone ever use those? I hear Cricket says shrimp. I was so disappointed when I found out as a child. That's what they looked like? April Coco says, I had them as a kid. They were gross. Flushed them down the toilet. Pat says, we grew them to feed baby angelfish. Interesting. I never had these. I don't think I ever saw sea monkeys. I did see... I think ant farms were a little cooler. Do kids still get ant farms? Hannikin says they look nothing like monkeys. This was my first lesson at age 9 of false advertising. Those aren't great pictures. Yeah, these ant farms. Did people have these? Paula Thompson said, ordered sea monkeys from the back of a comic book. Yes, I'm that old. I remember like one thing I ordered from the back of a comic book was like a ventriloquist doll. But because I was a little kid, I didn't realize that like just having the doll is not going to make it work. The doll itself is not what makes it work. Like you make it work. So that was a little bit of a lesson for me. Linda says, we just got our ant farms from the backyard and into a mason jar. April Coco ordered a Stretch Armstrong from a comic book. I don't know what that is. I have to look that up. Is that like a toy where the arms would stretch and stuff? Yes. Stretch Armstrong. A gel-filled action figure. Made of latex rubber filled with proprietary gelled substance similar to corn syrup, which allows it to retain shape for a short time before shrinking to its original shape. Oh, here's the ad right there. Stretch Armstrong ad. This is from Wikipedia. A human says Stretch Armstrong is still popular. April says, I did it so much it ripped and leaked. There it is. Dallas says, my cousin got a Stretch Armstrong and we immediately cut it open like the budding Dexters we were. MG Monkey said, loved my Stretch Armstrong back in the day, but eventually the stretch failed and he just had these really weird long arms. HM Doppelganger likes the cricket noise. I don't know how long the cricket noise is going to keep going on. Miss Holly was here but was behind on the stream. So we're waiting a few minutes because my friend Dan said he wanted to call in, but I don't know if Dan's calling in. So I'm giving Dan a few minutes to see if he's calling in. Lil Cam is here. Prosy says, I have a book, Mail Order Mysteries, real stuff from old comic book ads. Fun to see all the odd things that used to be sold in comic books. My friend Dan wrote this. Oh, hold on. Oh, Dan's going to call in. I just got a text from him. Dan's going to call in. I think we're going to have one-way street calling on this on an upcoming episode. All right. So what I got to do now is I am going to I feel like I'm going to shut the... It's getting a little late. I don't like the windows open too late because I feel like it disturbs... I feel like my voice probably carries and it disturbs the neighbors. So let me shut the windows, as sad as that is. I'm going to shut the windows and I'm going to create a Zoom link for my friend Dan so he can call in and talk about his book. All right, so... This is pretty exciting, though, because Dan is one of my best friends, and he's never been on the program. So it's pretty cool that he's calling in. I got to set this up right. I got to get my headphones attached. Give me one moment here. Give me one moment. Okay. Hold on, I got to refresh my picture here. Okay, so you guys can see me now. So now I got to do the thing where I create the Zoom link. Okay, I'm sending Dan the link. Hopefully. I hope this works. I hope this works. One moment, please. One moment, please. Okay. All right. Now, what I need to do is... Dan's about to pop up on the screen. There's Dan. Hold on. Dan, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Steve.
Okay, Clyde, hang on. Yeah, this is great. We can hear Dan. I can see Dan. Give me a second. I got to fix this.
All right.
Because they can't see you yet. They can see Stretch Armstrong. Hold on. Where is... I got to do this. This is exciting. There's Dan. All right, hold on, Dan. I got to get you a full screen here because you're not full screen yet. There's that. There he is. There's Dan.
What's up, Steve? I still can't see you though.
Oh, what are you looking at? Are you looking at the broadcast?
Just on Zoom, it says agenda free, and that's it. I get a little.
Oh, so all right. So this is how we have to do it, Dan, because I'm doing my stream right now.
Yeah.
So what you need to do to see me is to open up. Do you have like a phone or another window where you can open up my broadcast, and then you can see the live chat and see what people are saying?
Oh,
So
yeah.
basically, go to my channel on YouTube and hold on a second here. Do you need my channel link on YouTube, Dan? It's called Lookner channel.
I've seen it before, but let me just.
Everybody's saying hi to you in the chat.
Check out the new 2023 Grand
Uh-oh. You're hearing an ad.
4xe is the
All
most
right.
capable Grand Cherokee.
Putting it on mute for a sec.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, by the way, to our viewer.
There we are.
Dan, hold on one second. Thanks to our viewer Keanu and his. I have to hide somebody. Thanks, Keanu, but I have to hide you. Hey, Dan, did you turn your volume down? Hold on, Dan. Turn the volume down on your speaker because we're hearing double. We're hearing my sound through your computer. So if you could turn the speaker
All right,
off.
I just because I had it both on my computer, so I just turned it off, and I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
All right, I apologize.
Okay. All right, hang on.
I'm good.
That's fine. You're good. And also, let me adjust. I gotta adjust your level, Dan, because it's a little loud for me. But Dan, could just like say something random, like say like what the weather was like today, so I can look at the audio level. Because I don't know if I'm hearing you loud or just your.
Steve, it is awesome to be
All right.
on with you.
That,
People don't know you and I have been friends since
a long time.
7th grade, I think.
Yes, a long time. All right, that was great. So what I need to do, Dan, give me 1 second. I'm going to just knock down the audio a little bit, and I think we'll be good to go. All right. Now, Dan, Dan, you can see me, and can you see the chat?
No, I can't see you. I can just hear you. I turn YouTube off because of the sound, but I can put it up on my phone and put it on mute.
But Dan, you can put YouTube on your computer, and you can just mute YouTube. There's at the bottom of YouTube, there's a little microphone icon, and you can press it, and that'll mute it.
Is that right?
Yes. So go back to YouTube and just go to the low.
Just do it on my phone.
Okay, just whatever is, because it's good. It'd be good if you can see the chat. There's also people on Twitch watching, so a few people on Twitch, but I can tell you what they say. There's a Twitch chat, but I would just worry about, for now, just get one of the chats up there so you can see that.
All right. Sorry that I'm slowing.
No, take your time. It's fine. Dan, we take all kinds of time here doing things, so there's really no rush. No one cares. Sometimes I take 10 minutes to set one of these things up, so no one is really waiting. Yeah, Dan and I went to junior high school together and high school.
40 years ago, Steve.
It's so crazy. It's really ridiculous. But Dan has never been here. He's never been on the program. Meanwhile, I'll pull up your. I'm going to pull up your book. Let's see here.
All right, I got you on my phone now.
Okay. Can you see the chat?
Yeah. How do I scroll down? Yeah, I got the chat.
Okay, so you can just leave that scrolling if you want.
All right.
Is that working for you?
I think so.
Again, and you can pull it up on your computer too if it makes it easier. I can show you how to mute it.
All right, I'll do that again then. Hold on.
Yeah, do that. It's really easy.
That's probably easier because my phone's so small.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm pulling up Dan's book. I'm going to move myself over a little bit. Oops, that was you being moved over. I don't want to do that. Actually, I should move you over a little bit. That's better. We'll do that.
Wait, now where is the...
Okay, so
right,
if you want... You got it?
Yeah.
I think Dan figured it out.
I think so.
So you're watching it now, right?
Yep.
And you're seeing the chat on YouTube at least.
Yes, I see.
Okay,
I see
great.
the chat scrolling through.
Awesome. So everybody's saying hi. So we'll do questions in a second. We'll do some questions in a second, but we'll do a little intro first. All right, so let me introduce Dan. So Dan Dain is one of my oldest, closest friends, and we went to junior high together, and we went to high school together. And then in college, we used to clip each other newspaper articles in the sports section and send them to each other because there was no internet. So we would literally clip sports pages articles and mail them in snail mail.
Have you told people the Rush story? The greatest story ever?
You know, we should tell that. I've told them about Rush coming to the Lampoon, but I don't think you mean about the photography or what?
Oh, the fact that we picked them up at the Four Seasons.
Oh yeah, Dan came to the Rush event at the Harvard Lampoon. We'll talk about that after. So Dan, after he went to college, he became this very respected, successful lawyer and created his own successful law firm, which is awesome. But basically, if I understand right, I remember several years ago, Dan just started doing a lot of research on the history of Boston. And he was doing it for work, but also because he was interested in it. And then after several years of doing it, he was basically like, oh, maybe I could make this into a book. And he actually made it into a book, and it's been published now, which is really crazy. And it's awesome. So I'm putting it on the screen right now, and I'll post a link to it. But there it is. It says, hold on, I'm going to show people this. It says A History of Boston, hardcover and Kindle version. And I'm going to post a link in the chat. Dan's book, History of Boston. There was a big article in the Boston Globe about it. And it's super cool, and I'm really proud of him, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Steve. Yeah, it just came out September 19th, so it's only been out for a little over 2 weeks now.
So it's really cool. And I went to Dan's talk last night at a bookstore where he talked about it, and it was really interesting. So, so I figured Dan would come on and we talk a little bit about the book. But Dan, you know, like most of the people here know nothing about. Oh, hold on. Now I'm back to. I have to get Dan back on the screen because now people are looking at Stretch Armstrong again. Hang on a second. Let me get you back on the screen, Dan. But there we go. So yeah. So Dan, like most of the people here, like don't know like anything about Boston. So I don't know if like you want to like maybe just give like maybe a brief summary of how you came to write the book and just a brief, whatever you want to say, but are there a couple like big important points you want to make about what the book is about? If people why might somebody be interested in this, maybe, if they're not from Boston or something like that? Maybe, or maybe they wouldn't be.
Yeah, you know,
I think
it's interesting. I've been working with a publicist, and I think I've done 25 events so far in the last 3 weeks. So it's been pretty much one per night for several weeks. And I'm doing a lot of interviews around the country on different radio shows. So I definitely have to try to make the book relevant beyond Boston. I was interviewed by Pat Williams, who has a radio show out of Orlando. And he's the former general manager of the Orlando Magic.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
The Philadelphia 76ers. And I should have known that he wanted to talk sports history with me because I have 50 pages on Boston sports history in my book. But I didn't realize it was just going to be about the history of Boston sports. Otherwise, I would have sort of written down some points to make. But he comes on the interview and he just says things like Boston Red Sox, and then silence, and I'm like, and then I just had to start telling some stories about the Red Sox, and he goes,
wow,
Ted Williams. I'm like, oh, all right, Ted Williams. Here's some stories about Ted Williams. Boston Marathon, and
it's cool that you got on his show, though. Your publicist got that for you? How'd that happen?
Yeah, the publicist got me on that one. I've done interviews with, they've all been really interesting. Kenosha, Wisconsin, Lawrence, Kansas, Philadelphia was earlier this week, Cincinnati, Ohio. So I try to connect Boston to all these places. So, for instance, Lawrence, Kansas, which seems totally disconnected from Boston. But, of course, Lawrence, Kansas is named after the industrialist, abolitionist Amos Lawrence, who founded Lawrence, Massachusetts as well. It was during Bloody Kansas. And Kansas was going to be entered as a new state. It was going to be admitted as a new state. And there was going to be a popular vote as to whether Kansas was admitted as a slave state or a free state, and would tip the balance of power in the Senate between, depending on how it voted, between support for slavery or support for the Union in the 1850s. And so abolitionists and pro-slavery forces were streaming into Kansas and became known as Bloody Kansas because they were literally fighting battles. But people from Boston going to Kansas to vote, settled Lawrence, Kansas, and named it for this industrialist out of Massachusetts who provided a lot of the money to relocate people from New England to Kansas. So I'm always trying to tie Boston's history to national history, but the book actually is, I think, relevant beyond Boston. My law practice is representing real estate developers, and so as real estate developers, they make investments in cities. And so what interested me is, what is it about cities that would attract capital? And so I started doing research on Boston's history as essentially a case study for, um, uh, what are those principles and policies and practices of cities that make them successful or coincide with being successful or not successful, um, and you know essentially what lessons we can learn from history to guide us in setting policies today. And so I really endeavored to study Boston's history as a case study to inform my law practice.
So, something you said last night is you in your law firm that you created, you guys represent a lot of like real estate developers. And
Yes,
you said like these developers will want to like spend money on building something in Boston, but they'll want to have some sense of like what's Boston going to be like in the future, what's the likelihood of my building, of what's the Boston economy going to be like, what's the likelihood of my project making money. And so what you said, if I'm getting this right, is like
no, this is right.
This research you did into Boston was originally to help you be able to say to your clients, this is, based on what I know about Boston's history, and what I know about Boston now, this is what I predict Boston will be like in the future. And so this is why I can, have a decent idea of whether your project might be successful or not, right? That's kind of a very basic general summary of how you got into researching the history of Boston to help you like inform and give suggestions to your developer clients.
Yeah, I mean, so that's essentially right. So Boston's been in this period of tremendous success over the last 25 to 30 years, a period that I call high urbanism, when people want to live, work, play, study, shop, visit, in my case, Boston, but more generally, cities across the United States and really internationally have been in this period of great success, right? There's been a really return to cities over the last 20 years. But Steve, when you and I grew up in the 70s and 80s, growing up just outside of Boston, that was not the case. Boston was a complete basket case of a city. It was dangerous. Jobs were leaving the city. People were leaving the city. I gave the stat last night that in 1950, the population of Boston was 801,000 people. In 1980, when you and I were, in fourth grade or so, the population of Boston had fallen almost 300,000 people to 520,000 people. So in 30 years, a third of a million people had fled the city. And so what interested me was this sort of assumption that cities are successful and people want to be in cities. And it's like, well, wait a second. It wasn't that long ago when Boston was a disaster, but New York was a disaster in the 1970s, and Philadelphia and these other cities were really struggling for a real long time. So I wanted to better understand, why is it that cities have had this moment over the last 25 to 30 years? But before that, through most of the 20th century, that was not the case. Cities were in a long period of decline. Boston in particular. Boston was so bad in the 1980s, the Brookings Institute declared Boston the most blighted big city in America. Boston today thinks that it's, sort of high and mighty and looks down on other cities, like Buffalo or Pittsburgh or Cleveland, that have struggled a little bit more recently. And yet in the 1980s, Boston was behind all those cities in terms of at least the Brookings Institute's report. The city was full of crime, and it was a place that had a lot of problems. And so when my clients make investment decisions in the city and have the assumption that things will always remain good, I was just interested in, why is that? Is that an assumption that one can count on, or does one need to be more intentional and manage the success of cities? And what I discovered from my research, going back to the beginning of Boston's history, is that Boston in particular, but cities generally, swing back and forth between periods of great success and failure. And so I wanted to understand what were the common themes that have been consistent with successful cities and common themes that are consistent with unsuccessful cities. And so that's sort of what unifies the book. It's a general history of Boston. I start actually 580 million years ago with the formation of the Avalon Belt, which was a chain of volcanoes.
Oh, we lost Dan for a second. Oh, there he goes.
That slowly drifted north. The Avalon Belt, the chain of volcanoes, slowly drifted north and were crushed between the North American continent and Africa to form Pangaea. And then when North American continent pulled off of Africa, the chain of volcanoes that had become weathered fused with North America and became the plain that we see between the Appalachian Mountains and the coast. So I go back and sort of look at the geologic formation of what became known as the Boston Basin and how the retreat of the glaciers helped form the Boston Basin, and then talk about the settlement of First Peoples, and then the arrival of European explorers through the Pilgrims and the Great Puritan Migration of 1630, through the colonial period and the American Revolution into the 19th century, and things like the rise of the Industrial Revolution that comes out of New England, abolition movement that gets its start really in Boston in 1831. And so it's a political and economic history as well as a social and cultural one. I have history of sports teams and history of Boston movies, history of Boston restaurants, theater. So it's fun, but what unites it is trying to understand during periods of success and failure, what are those policies and practices that coincide with that?
With all those topics, it's kind of like an American history, but encapsulated in the city, because you have the Pilgrims coming over, and you have the Revolution, and you have the Industrial Revolution, and you have the Civil Rights Movement, and all the desegregation of schools and all that stuff. So there's a lot of topics in general American history that are specifically covered in your book, which is kind of neat, which I was just thinking about. So
yeah, I have my section on Boston music, my section on movies are ones that people would know the music, people would know the movies. So in doing the interviews that I've been doing around the country, there was one interviewer who had a background in rock music, so all he wanted to do is he'd be like, the Cars, and then he wanted me to talk about the Cars. He'd be like, Jay Giles Band.
People assume you're an expert on every single thing in Boston and every topic.
I know. The funny thing is, after writing the book, after 4 years of research, once I knew it was coming out and that I was going to be doing a lot of interviews, I had to quickly reread the book and take notes on what I had written, just so I'd remember what I'd written, so I could answer questions about it. But I've been.
By the way, Dan, speaking of Boston music, I don't think I mentioned this to you. About 3 months ago, I watched on Amazon. They have a documentary somebody did about V66. And it's really good.
Oh, yeah, I loved V66.
It's really good. I'm going to find it right now. And I actually, it was so good I left a review on Amazon about it. But for those watching who won't know what I'm talking about, back in the 80s, for a year and a half, there was a local MTV. When MTV was really huge, there was a local music video channel in Boston called V66. And people really got into it in Boston, and then it went out of business. But there was a documentary about it, and they actually talked to all the old VJs and stuff. And it was really fun. And it was actually a really interesting business story in there. So I'm going to find that right now before I forget. And I'll
it was
post
1983 or 1984 or something, but it was fantastic.
And a lot of it's about this guy, John Garabedian, who was this local radio guy who started this business. V66 documentary. Let's see if I can find it here. Boy, it's weird. I type in V66 documentary. I know I watched it on Amazon. It doesn't even show up. Let's see. V66 documentary. If I can't find it, I'll do it later. I don't want to hold up everything. Well, I can't find it right now, so maybe it's not there anymore. Hold on. Let me do one thing. V66 documentary. I'm going to Google search it. Life on the V, the story of V66. I found it. Here it is. So I'm going to post a link to this. Here, I'll actually show people what it is.
Here's my book also.
Oh, yeah. Dan, hold that
up so I can remember all the stories.
Hold up the cover.
I have a really fun movie story, if I can find it. If you want me to read a little story from the book that you
Sure. Yes, and while you're finding it, I'm gonna post this V66 thing, and I also pinned the link to your book in the chat at the top of the chat, so people can see that. There's the Life on the V, the story of V66. I'm gonna post a link to this now in the chat.
Check that out.
It's really good. V66 documentary. All right. I just posted a link to that. It's an Amazon Associate earned from qualifying purchases. Okay, so if you want to watch that, I just posted the link to that. So let me go back to Dan. Hang on a second here. Let me get back to Dan. And Hang on, and real quick, Dan, Dan, take your time, find your story. We're all good. Let me just, and also we're going to take some of your questions. I know people have questions for Dan, so we'll definitely do that. We're going to definitely.
Well, I have a lot of crime history, so here's, I'm gonna, if people will indulge me, I'm going to read a story, an intersection of crime and movies in Boston. I know that's shocking because only every single movie ever made about Boston is about crime. But...
All right. That sounds good. Yeah, so do you have some of the crime history there? Like
tons of crime history.
Who, like Whitey Bulger and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, lots about Whitey Bulger. All right, I want to read this. This is one of my sort of favorite Boston crime stories.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, I'm just reading, so you'll have to indulge me. So this picks up in the 1960s with what becomes known as the Irish Gang Wars. So here, let me read. This is on page 494 for those who want to get the book and check it out. But by the 1960s, these rival gangs were in an all-out war in what became known as the Irish Gang Wars. It did not get any more brutal than the battles between the McLaughlin brothers from Charlestown and the Winter Hill Gang out of Somerville. It started at a party in Salisbury Beach over Labor Day weekend 1961, when George McLaughlin was seen groping the girlfriend of Winter Hill Gang associate Alessandro Petriconi Jr. McLaughlin was severely beaten at the party and then dumped at a nearby hospital. As one of the Winter Hill Gang bosses, Buddy McLean went to see George McLaughlin's brother Bernie to smooth things out, but the meeting did not go well and Bernie stormed out of the meeting. Later that night, McLean was awoken at his home in Somerville by barking dogs and saw two men under his car. McLean came out and found 5 sticks of dynamite. Later that day, McLean found Bernie walking out of the Morning Glory in Charlestown City Square and shot him dead in front of nearly 100 witnesses. McLean then fled in a car driven by Petriconi. They were soon captured, but none of the witnesses wanted to cooperate, and a grand jury refused to indict, part of a long pattern of apparent jury intimidation in mob prosecutions in Boston. McLean and Petriconi had evaded the law, but they remained in danger from the McLaughlins. McLean told Petriconi to get out of town until things settled down. Petriconi moved to California, changed his name to Alex Rocco, and took acting lessons from Boston native Leonard Nimoy. In 1972, Rocco played the role of Mo Green, memorably shot through the eye during the baptism murder scene in the movie The Godfather. And later in his career, he won an Emmy Award. The life of rank-and-file Boston gangsters like Petriconi was vividly portrayed in the classic novel The Friends of Eddie Coyle by George Higgins, published in 1972. When actor Robert Mitchum was cast to play Eddie Coyle in the 1973 movie version of the book, Petriconi, Rocco, introduced him to Howie Winter, who was the head of the Winter Hill Gang, to help Mitchum prepare for the role of a Boston gangster. There's a remarkable photo that can be found online showing Winter, Petriconi, Rocco, and Mitchum during the time of the filming of the movie The Friends of Eddie Coyle, in which Rocco has a small role. Remains one of the most indelible films ever made about Boston and features classic scenes shot at the old Boston Garden during a Bruins game. And Mitchum refers to Bobby Orr as the greatest hockey player in the world during the movie. So
I didn't know Alex Rocco had Boston origins like that.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's crazy.
McLean should have followed Petriconi out of town. He was assassinated in East Boston, leaving Winter in control of the Winter Hill Gang. And then I go on and talk about the escalating Irish gang wars, and that leads into the rise of Whitey Bulger. I just find it so fascinating that he was just a rank and file member of the local Irish mob and gets into trouble and then flees to California and becomes a famous actor.
Do you know, when I was at the Lampoon, Dan, we had him there for a dinner because Dave Mandel was a huge fan of the movie and invited Alex Rocco. We actually had an Alex Rocco dinner. He came to the Lampoon. Yeah.
Yeah, so his real name was Alessandro Petriconi.
I did not know. Hey, Dan, can you take some questions from our viewers? I know they'd like to ask you some questions about Boston and Boston history. So, guys, Dan, my friend from my longtime friend Dan, has just written a book called The History of Boston. I posted the link in both chats. I've pinned the link And hold on, I'll show you what it looks like here real quick, just so you can see it again. And Dan has been kind enough to come here and make an appearance. And he'll answer some questions if you have any questions. There's his book right there. It just came out, A History of Boston. So yeah, if you guys have any like Boston history questions for Dan, it can be economic, political.
Boston cream pie. I see a question about the Boston cream pie. That's invented at the Parker House restaurant, which is today called the Omni Parker Hotel. And two interesting people worked at the old Parker House restaurant. I guess I'll throw it back to your audience, Steve. Can people guess two of the most famous people in the history of the world worked at the Parker House restaurant?
Two of the most famous people in the history of the world worked at the Parker House restaurant?
Worked at the Parker House restaurant, which is where the Boston cream pie was invented.
When was the Parker House restaurant opened? Can I ask that?
1870s or so. Both.
Oh, we lost Dan for a second.
Worked in the 20th century.
I have no idea.
The first most famous person, I think, was in the 1920s, was Ho Chi Minh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Vietnamese revolutionary. Worked in Boston in the 1920s as a dishwasher at the Parker House restaurant. And Malcolm X worked there in the 1940s.
Oh, interesting.
So what other restaurant in the world did both Ho Chi Minh and Malcolm X work in?
Yes. We had a question from Bubba Twitcher, who's on Twitch, so you can't see that chat, but I wanted to ask that.
All right.
How about the molasses flood, which was a sabotage attack? Now there was is that a Boston thing? That wasn't there a big molasses tank collapse in Boston, or is that different? Is that like New York or something?
No, that was Boston, 1919. I'm not aware of it having been a product of sabotage.
Yeah, I don't know this. I'm just passing on the question. So
yeah, so molasses is distilled, and the alcohol made from it is then used in the manufacture of gunpowder. And so during World War I, molasses was shipped from the West Indies. I mean, molasses was being shipped from the West Indies and the Caribbean to Boston, going back to colonial times, and forms the basis of the triangular trade, which is part of the slave trade. But it continues up through World War I, and the molasses is stored in enormous tanks along the waterfront before it can be distilled. The problem is that molasses sitting in a big tank can ferment on its own. And so as it fermented in this giant tank, the pressure built up, and then it exploded in the north end of Boston in 1919. And it flooded the entire north end and ended up doing, tens of millions of dollars of damage. And I forget the number, but like 25 people died in the Great Molasses Flood of 1919. It's the subject of a really terrific book by Stephen Puleo called Dark Tide that I recommend.
I did not know that had even happened until like a few months ago. I first heard about it. Also, has nobody made a movie about that at all ever? You think that'd be a good movie? No?
The molasses is very slow moving, but it's hard to get.
They'd have to speed it up for the movie. By the way, Dan, in like 8 minutes, the Zoom will end, and if you want, I'll just send you another link, because the Zoom like ends after 40 minutes because I'm not on like Zoom I'm not a Zoom subscriber, so it might cut us off, and I can just create another event and send it to you. All right, more questions for Dan. Rita says, "I love history like this." So thanks, Rita. If you guys, P. William Grimm says, "Do you know of any good Boston ghost stories? I worked at Faneuil Hall and there was a ghost there." So P. William Grimm claims he worked at Faneuil Hall and there was a ghost there. Dan, does that come up in your book at all? Ghost stories at all? I don't know if that comes up.
Yeah, I don't have great stories, but I do mention places that are famously haunted. So the most famous locations that are thought to be haunted is the one that I mentioned already, the Parker House Hotel. Is famously thought to be haunted, and I think there's a room there that they actually don't rent out because so many people had heard evidence of ghosts. I've never checked it out myself. There's one on George's Island, Fort Warren. I forget the exact story; it's in my book, but it was during the Civil War, and Fort Warren was being used as a prison for Confederate soldiers. And like the wife or the girlfriend of one of the Confederate soldiers came up to Boston and broke into the to Fort Warren to try to free her boyfriend or husband who was a prisoner there. And I forget the exact story, but she somehow died, and people claim that she haunts the fort to this day. So I have a little bit of places that are considered haunted in the book, but I don't know that any of them have great stories. There's another one going back. I talk about pirating, which may be of some interest to people, because surprisingly, pirating was an important part of the colonial economy, because pirates would, go make their money out in the high seas. But then they would need to come into a port and fix up their boats and, go buy provisions and buy some clothes and buy food. And so Boston was a major port of entry for pirate ships. But there's a story where, and I'm blanking on the name of the pirate, but the ship was the Wida, which is the most famous of all pirate wrecks that have been discovered. And it crashes on the coast of Cape Cod in a storm. And the wife or girlfriend of the pirate is alleged to sort of haunt the location where the ship broke apart. But there's a museum on Cape Cod now to that pirate ship. It's really pretty interesting.
Dan, that made me think of, can you tell the viewers you talked about shore whaling last night, and how when the Pilgrims, I think, first came, when the first settlers came, they would do whaling from the shore. They were able to do it from the shore.
Yeah, I mean, the colonists learned how to whale from the Native Americans, and whales were so common in the Atlantic that you would just stand on shore and look out for the spout. And as soon as you'd see a spout, you'd jump in a boat and you would row out to the whale, and then you'd harpoon the whale and pull it in. I mean, it actually, the whaling was done similar to how it was done later in the 19th century. But rather than go out on these larger boats for multi-year voyages, you just did it right from shore. But it didn't take too long for them to whale out, to fish out all the whales that were close to New England. So they had to get in larger boats and head out into the Atlantic. And by the end of the colonial period, the Atlantic had largely been whaled out. And so the great whaling era in the 19th century is really based more in the Pacific and the Atlantic. But the centers of North American whaling are in Nantucket and New Bedford in Massachusetts. And so they would provision these ships, and they would go off for 3 to 4 years in the 19th century to go whaling in the Pacific and up to the Arctic Ocean. And so, I mean, imagine financing a whaling expedition. They're enormously profitable, but they often didn't come home. And when they did come home, you'd have to wait 3 or 4 years to get your capital out.
Wow! But
it was the oil in the whales that was so profitable. That oil is what lit the lights of cities around the world.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. You were talking about that last night. You said that a lot of London was lit by New England whale oil initially, right?
Yeah, so England was the major market for whale oil, and so after the Revolutionary War and after the War of 1812, the English had blockaded trade with America, and so the whalers from Nantucket actually negotiated with the British, set their own foreign policy to try to keep those markets open. It's really quite remarkable. Nantucketers actually go to England and make a proposal to relocate the whaling industry to England, and enter into negotiations with the English, with the British, after the Revolutionary War. The British ended up saying no, and so Nantucket went to France instead and cut a deal with the French. But by that time, the market really with England had reopened, and I think 9 families relocate from Nantucket and go to France and found the French whaling industry.
Some people are wondering, is whale oil, is that called blubber? I have no idea. What does the word blubber mean? I don't know what it means.
Yeah, it's boiled down.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd have to boil it down.
And then April Coco had a question. That's really cool. April Coco had a question about like why is about the Boston accent. Is there anything he was wondering about the origins of the Boston accent? Do you know anything about that? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, it does come from England. It goes way back, and it's actually really interesting how we know how people talked in colonial times. And you'd be surprised, but one of the biggest clues are poems, right? Because poems have rhyming words. And so through rhymes in poems, we know how in colonial times people pronounced different words because they would be paired in poems. I mean, because, there was no recording. So otherwise, we really have not a great sense of how words were pronounced before there were recordings, but poems give a real insight into that. And the Boston accent is really quite old. It becomes a Yankee accent with other influences that come in through different immigrant groups that come through the area and evolve somewhat, but it's quite an old accent.
That's really interesting. So we're here. My friend Dan has been nice enough to zoom in, and he just came out with a book called The History of Boston, which he's been working on for years. And I posted a link to it at the top of both chats, Twitch and YouTube. And he's nice enough to take questions. So we're taking questions, and we might lose him for a second if the Zoom call ends. I got to start another Zoom call. So if you see him disappear, I'll just start another Zoom call. But we're taking some of your questions. So if you have any Boston history-related questions, ask Dan. I'm looking in the chat, Dan. And Dan, you can, if you see any you want to pick out, you can answer too. HM Doppelganger says, any fun or notable facts or stories around the Boston Tea Party?
So the part about the Boston Tea Party that I find so fascinating is the sort of American narrative of why the colonists and Bostonians were rising up in
hang on, he paused.
Early rebellion against the British Crown, right? And
all right, hold on. All right, now guys, I have to start a new Zoom and get Dan back here because I'm on the free Zoom plan. So hang on a moment. I'm just creating a new Zoom right now. Here we go. Schedule a meeting. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. I'm sending Dan the new link right now to the meeting. Okay, I just sent Dan the new link, and now I am going to open up the meeting so we can see Dan again. Okay, I think we're good. Hopefully he connects as well. Dan is one of my closest friends. He's awesome. I see him popping up again. There he is. He's about to be here. Hey, you're back.
He's about to be here.
Can you mute the YouTube?
Can you mute the YouTube? Can you mute?
Did you mute it? Hold on. I think we're good.
I'm trying. Hold on. I don't know why.
Oh, Dan. Go to the. Yeah, there's probably just like a feedback because.
Dan, go to the.
Oh, no, hold on.
Probably just feedback because.
Can you go to the bottom of the YouTube, bottom left, and click off the microphone emoji of the YouTube window? I'm not hearing it anymore. I think you might have done it. We'll see. Thanks to all of our moderators, by the way. JA&P, Raven Riley, Linda Belk. Just thanking our moderators. David Green, Skip Fu. Dan, things are good on your end, Dan? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you great.
All right.
Are you good on your end? You good?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the...
Oh, the chat up or do you need a link to the broadcast?
No, I think I'm good. So the Boston Tea Party, the narrative is that the colonists were revolting against the imposition of taxes, right? And of course, this question of no taxation without representation in and of itself is really interesting, because what does that mean, no taxation without representation? And I was really puzzled by that, because taxes are being imposed by Parliament. And what did the colonists want, right? Did the colonists want representation in Parliament? And was there really a Revolutionary War because the British didn't want to give colonists a vote in Parliament? And it turns out that that's really not quite what it was. The colonists were not looking to have a vote in Parliament on whether there were taxes. The colonists wanted essentially a Commonwealth-type arrangement, like with, Australia, where the king would remain the king of the colonies, but Parliament would not have essentially jurisdiction over the colonies. The colonies would be self-governing, but under the king. So it was not so much about representation in the body that was imposing taxes. It was the very authority of Parliament in the first place. So what happens is that following the French and Indian War, which is part of the 7 Years' War, which is really the world's first world war, largely between Great Britain and France. It's fought not just in North America, but it's fought all over the world. And the British Crown incurs enormous debts, and in part because they believe that they're incurring the debts to protect the colonies, the North American colonies. So they feel that the North American colonies have a role to play in, recovering, providing a source of revenue to start paying off the debts that have been incurred by the British Crown. And so they start looking at, forms of taxation. You get the Stamp Act and the Sugar Act. And the British actually decide that the tax on tea is too high. So they were in 1783, they reduced the tax on tea. But what they're concerned about is the East India Tea Company, which has a monopoly on tea, is being undermined by smugglers around the world who are smuggling in non-East India tea. And so in order to prop up the East India Tea Company, they lower the taxes to make the tea less expensive, but try to crack down on smuggling. And so this becomes a battle between those people in North America who are legally importing tea and those people in North America who are smuggling tea in. So this is a trade dispute. This has nothing to do with no taxation without representation. And it's not something that is of really any great interest to the average Bostonian. But people like Samuel Adams are such brilliant propagandists that they turn this issue that really doesn't concern most people and is really of interest only to essentially criminals, right? Like people who are smuggling tea into the colonies to not have to buy the East India Tea Company tea. And so Samuel Adams is one of the great propagandists of all time, and gets the people of Boston riled up about this issue of the tea, and it leads to the great protest where they go out to the three the three ships that are docked at Griffin's Wharf one night, and they dump the tea into the harbor. So the British were not too keen on that, and they imposed much greater restrictions afterwards.
Very cool. Yeah, one of our viewers said we were lied to in history class. That's what Kathy said. Gordon Gott says, answer this any way you want. How did the Irish play into Boston history? Do you want to just give like a brief answer, maybe?
Enormously important in the history of Boston. Irish first coming to Boston in relatively small numbers in the early 19th century. They face immense hostility from the Yankee Protestants. In I think 1831, there's an Ursuline convent in Charlestown, which is burned down. Shortly after, there's a massive riot on Broad Street, between the small Irish Catholic community and Protestant firefighters. And it's just an absolute massive brawl that goes on all day long. Regular riots. But by 1848, with the potato famine in Ireland, is when Boston gets a disproportionate share of the immigration coming over from Ireland, largely because the Irish make their way to Liverpool and get on the packet ships. Packet ships are regularly scheduled ships that are sailing between Liverpool and Boston. Boston being the closest port closest port in the United States to England. Boston gets a disproportionate share. People may have heard of Irish Need Not Apply. It's true. They faced incredible discrimination in Boston. It was very hard for the Irish immigrants to get jobs, and they clustered along the waterfront, living in the North End and other areas of the waterfront. North End was Irish before it was Italian, really it was by the 1880s, with the rise of machine politics, where they get organized and gain political power and get an economic foothold, that the Irish in Boston start doing economically much better.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very interesting.
I see there's a question about Christmas. People want to. It is absolutely true that Christmas was banned by the Puritans in Boston. Christmas, the Puritans believed in not mediating between the believer and the Bible, and they took the Bible very literally. And there's no evidence for the nativity in the winter, and they objected to Christmas as having been essentially a pagan holiday, which had been co-opted, by the church to replace the pagan holiday, but it finds no support as a holiday in the Bible. And it was a holiday that was an occasion in England and in the colonies as a night of misrule and celebration. And the Puritans did not like that at all. And Christmas was banned for quite a long time in colonial Boston, and really did not become the holiday that we think of today until well into the 19th century.
Rita says they called it pagan holiday and idolatry.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Let's see here. Shweddy said, I don't know if you know the answer to this, Dan. Shweddy says, when did Sam Adams start brewing beer? You know a lot about beer, actually.
Yeah.
Dan, when we were younger, you used to host like these beer tastings at your place, and we would have beer, and you were like a beer expert for a while.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're a Boston beer expert, but
so the real Samuel Adams did brew beer. He was a terrible businessman. He had numerous different jobs. He was not successful as a brewer. He was not a good-looking guy, and apparently had a terrible voice. But what he was better at than anything else was written propaganda, and he was absolutely brilliant at that. And there's really no person more important to the start of the American Revolution, I think, than Sam Adams. And so when Jim Koch founded the Boston Beer Company in, I forget the year, early 1980s, and wanted an icon to be sort of the symbol of his company, he picked Sam Adams. But the picture of Sam Adams on the bottle of Sam Adams beer today is definitely not the historical Sam Adams. Some people think it looks a little bit like John Hancock, who was much better looking than the real Sam Adams. Mm-hmm. But Sam Adams apparently was an incredibly ugly man. Mm-hmm. So they co-opted the name, but not the image.
And just to repeat, Dan is, somebody said, is Dan a teacher? Dan is actually a lawyer. He has his own successful law firm in Boston. And he just started independently researching the history of Boston several years ago. And he ended up doing so much of it, learning so much, he decided to turn it into a book. And his book has just come out. It's called The History of Boston. I posted the link at the top of the chat on Twitch and YouTube. You can check that out there. And he's been nice enough to come on and talk about some of the history of Boston and answer your questions. So maybe if he wants... Dan, are you okay with answering a couple more questions?
Yeah, no, I see a bunch that I can answer. Oldest woodhouse in the U.S. is in Dedham, Massachusetts. It's from, I forget, 1641 or something like that, and can be visited today. So that is a house that goes back.
It's still standing? Dan, that house is still up?
House is still up. Most of the colonial wood houses are long gone, largely due to fires, but also just because people replace them. The Paul Revere house in the North End is a wood house that dates back to the 1600s, but changed over time. The ride of Paul Revere was real. I think it's one of the most interesting aspects of this period because the British were occupying Boston, and it was under British control. Boston was occupied by British troops, and yet the Patriots freely walked around Boston, and it was Dr. Joseph Warren had a network of spies and had learned that the British intended to march out to Concord because there were caches of gunpowder. The colonists could not make their own gunpowder, and so gunpowder had been stored during the times of the Indian Wars, which were earlier, from the late 17th into the 18th century. And so there were caches of gunpowder and other munitions all throughout the countryside, so that it could be accessed by militias to fight Indian wars. And so the British realized that if they could gain control of these caches of munitions and gunpowder, they could stop the colonists from being able to rebel against them. And so General Gage had ordered the British regulars to march out to Concord to try to capture it, as well as he finally had enough, and he knew from his own spies that Sam Adams and John Hancock were staying in Lexington. And so Joseph Warren called Paul Revere to his house and said, we need to get a warning out to Concord and also out to Lexington to Sam Adams and John Hancock. Paul Revere then arranges for lantern, the Longfellow poem arranges to have 2 lanterns hung from the Old North Church, which is an Anglican church. It's not a Puritan congregational church. So this is a church that's loyal to the British, and yet Revere has some allies on the inside who hang the 2 lanterns. So Revere is in the Boston Peninsula at the time. Before landfill, Boston was a much smaller place, a small peninsula. Signals over to Charlestown that the British are going to be taking the water route, rowing over to Charlestown. Revere himself goes out there. Joseph Warren sends out another writer, William Dawes, who takes the land route over the Boston Neck. But they trigger a general alarm, and so they're not the only riders heading out to send off the alarm. Many other riders are. Revere himself gets captured leaving Lexington for Concord. Revere never gets to Concord. He meets up with this doctor named Prescott, who is visiting his girlfriend in Lexington, but is from Concord, and it's Prescott who gets to Concord to warn the colonists in Concord that the British are marching. But the Ride of Paul Revere is a real story. The poem itself plays a little bit with the historical facts, though.
Mm-hmm. Neat, very neat.
I think. Oh, the Nova Scotia. There's a question about the Nova Scotia Christmas tree. This is a crazy, scary story. The largest man-made explosion in history before Hiroshima was in 1917, I think, in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where during World War I, there was trade. Munitions and other supplies were being sent from North America to the Allies in Europe, to France and to England, and the German U-boats were having unrestricted warfare on the supply lines. They were sinking the ships coming from the United States and Canada for Europe. And so the way they decided to deal with this is through convoys, that the ships would gather in Halifax Harbor under protection, and then they would head out with a military escort. And it was found that then when the group of ships went all together with a military escort, they could prevent the German U-boats from sinking them. And so this vessel loaded with munitions is in Halifax Harbor, and there was another ship going the other direction that was you were supposed to, I think, travel on the right side, and so ships would pass each other on the port side. But this ship was in the wrong lane and collided with the ship that was carrying the munitions in Halifax Harbor and set off this enormous explosion. And it started after the collision, it starts smoking. And so people see that there's smoke coming from a ship in the harbor. So people go to their windows all across Halifax to see what's going on. And there's then this enormous explosion which shatters glass and blinds thousands of people who are trying to watch from their window.
Wow, I did not know this.
Just in time for an enormous blizzard to hit and buries Halifax under a couple feet of snow. But there's one telegraph operator who gets out a message just before he's killed that there's been a disaster in Halifax. And the message gets to Boston, but without any real details. And so Boston gets this message, the only message gets out of Halifax saying, there's been a disaster, but there's no details whatsoever. And so Boston tries to send telegraphs to Halifax saying, what's going on? Do you need help? And all the telegraph lines have been blown, have been destroyed. And so the governor of Massachusetts calls leaders together and they decide that they're going to just, it's better to be proactive than not. And so they put together these medical supply trains that head up to Halifax, having no idea what's up there. And they head into this blizzard, and these supply trains from Boston get up to Halifax, and they set up a hospital in Halifax. They're the first responders that get to Halifax. It's really an incredible story. And the doctors stay an enormous amount of time, nurses and supplies, and Boston raises a huge amount of money for relief for Halifax. And so Halifax, as a symbol of appreciation, sends one of their best trees down to Boston every year for a Christmas tree.
Oh,
and
I have never heard of this. Was this in 1917? Is that what you said?
Yeah, during World War I, 1917.
I'm gonna have to. I see there's some videos on it and stuff. I knew nothing about this. I'm gonna have to research it. I'm gonna post a link to the Wikipedia article in the chat right now. But I never.
Oh, it's an extraordinary story.
The Halifax explosion. I've never heard of.
Yeah, the Great Halifax Explosion. I think of 1917.
Okay, I'm gonna look into this. This is fascinating. Really cool. Really cool. Sounds awful.
But that's the origin of the Halifax, the Halifax, Nova Scotia Christmas tree that's in Boston every year.
So where is it like in Boston, Dan, every year? Is it like at a certain location or what?
Yeah, it's on the Boston Common. It's changed location over time. It was over at the Prudential for a while, but
wow,
it's been on Boston Common for quite a few years. It's a beautiful tree. It's I go there in the winter and check it out each year. And actually, there's a picture in my book of the Christmas tree that I took.
Mm-hmm. Do you talk in your book about like the history of like the Boston Common, the public garden, stuff like that?
Boston Common was the Shawmut Peninsula was populated by the Massachusetts Native Americans before the arrival of Europeans. But in 1616, French explorers are exploring the coast of New England, and they're kidnapped by Nauset Indians, I think, on Cape Cod, and they have a disease that it's a little unclear what the disease is. Some people think it's smallpox, potentially yellow fever, and it decimates the population of the coast. So what was called Patuxet was a Wampanoag village, and they have 100% fatalities. The entire village dies. And that becomes Plymouth. So when the Pilgrims arrive, they essentially settle in a village that had already been cleared. I mean, it was these were cultivated lands where the Pilgrims arrived. But north of the Wampanoags were the Massachusetts Native Americans who lived in the area of Boston, and their population is decimated as well. So when the Puritans arrive in 1630, the Shawmut Peninsula is uninhabited, except for a hermit, a man known as the Reverend William Blackston, who had come over in 1624 in an earlier Puritan expedition and stayed behind and made his way to this peninsula, and he was living in this small house. And when the Puritans were exploring the area where to settle in 1630, he came over to Charlestown, where they were exploring. Governor John Winthrop and invited them to come over to the peninsula, and he had a house there. They took his, they essentially took his land, and they make most of his land the Boston Common, and he finds it gets too crowded, and he ends up moving to Rhode Island. But the Boston Common was essentially the front yard of William Blackston's house.
Really interesting. I didn't realize that.
It goes back right to the very beginning of the settlement of Boston. Then they set it off as common land. It's used for pasturing. Militias drill there. The gallows are located on Boston Common. Another thing that it's used for that we don't think of today, but it was used to clean rugs. And you think, well, why do you need to clean rugs? Obviously, it's before vacuum cleaners and you could sweep. But cleaning rugs was actually a major issue because the streets weren't paved. And so the streets were were not just muddy when it rains, but completely full of horse dung and cow dung and pig dung and everything else. So people would come into their homes with these disgusting boots and walk on the carpets, and the carpets were in rough shape. And so it was tradition in Boston that you would bring your carpets out to the Boston Common to clean them. It's really not till the 19th century where Boston Common starts becoming a more of a garden as opposed to just publicly used land. The public garden, which is next to the Boston Common, is a little bit later. That's on landfill, and that land doesn't get filled in until the 1830s.
Okay. Can you hold up the book again, by the way? I want to just let people see what it looks like. This is Dan's new book. There it is, A History of Boston. It's really cool. And I want to have you talk about, let me just real quick post the information in the chat again. Hold on a second. Where is it? Here. Dan's book, A History of Boston. I'm just pulling up the link here again. Hold on. And then I wanted to ask you something. So this book just came out. You can find it on hardcover and Kindle on Amazon. I just posted the link there. As an Amazon associate, I earn for qualifying purchases. Dan, if somebody buys your book with my link, I think I get like 10 cents from it.
Oh, awesome. No, happy to
if you want it, I will give it to you.
Hey, there's a question about a comment about the symphony. Symphony Hall, where the Boston Symphony Orchestra plays, they hired an acoustical engineer from Harvard, and I forget the year, but in the late 19th century, to design the acoustics for Symphony Hall, and it becomes it's considered to have perfect acoustics and one of the great concert halls in the world. But it's the first location where science and engineering are used to design the acoustics for a place where a symphony would play.
Oh, Symphony Hall is?
Yeah.
Cool. I wanted to ask, can you tell people, I said to you last night, I said, your book looks so good, the design looks so good, and you had an interesting story about the person who did the layout for your book cover.
Well, it's a collaboration of two different people, both really contributed to it. So one is a photographer, Peter Vanderwerker, who has his own books, and I recommend his books. They're available on Amazon as well. He's an urban photographer who's been doing it for 40 years, and I was introduced to him by someone that Steve and I both went to high school with, Ben Haywood. And Ben introduced me to Peter. Peter lives in Newton, where Steve and I grew up. I met Peter after I'd finished the manuscript, and I gave him a copy of the manuscript just to see if he'd be interested in reading it. And he took it home, and apparently he read the whole thing in 3 days, which his wife later told me was amazing because he has ADHD and doesn't read books.
Wow.
But he liked the manuscript so much that he called me up afterwards and he said, I like the manuscript so much, I'd like to make my entire photo archives available to you.
Crazy.
On the condition that you put my name on the cover. And I was like, absolutely. I didn't even think about that for more than a second, because his pictures are amazing and really make the book look great. And he has a good brand and followers as well. So it definitely helps the branding of my book. But the publisher knew the guy who used to do the design of the covers for Ansel Adams books in the 1960s. He's retired and lives in Vermont, but she just wanted to get him. So she called him up and said, hey, would you design the jacket for Dan's book with pictures by Peter Vanderwerker? And he agreed to do it for free. His name's Lance Heidi, really an incredible designer, and did a great job designing the book. And so I was really fortunate to get both Peter's photographs for free and Lance's design for free.
Yeah, the book. Could you hold it up again? It looks really good. It looks really good. Hold it a little high. Can you hold it a little higher because we're only seeing the bottom? There you go. So I think the type looks good and the cover. Can you hold it up like the back and
Yeah. So here's the part I really like, which is.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. That's from Peter. That's a Peter photo.
That's a Peter photo.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really great. It just looks really nice. So it's great.
Yeah, I'll show you.
I'll hold it up a little higher. That's awesome. And then there's photos spread throughout the book too, Dan?
Yeah, there's over 200 photos inside the book. I forget the exact number. About half of them are contemporary photos by Peter that I picked out that I just thought looked nice. They're probably a little harder to see. This is a really cool building at MIT called the Status Center. I don't know if you can see that. That's one of Peter's photos.
Can you hold it a little closer to the camera? Let's see. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, it looks like something out of a German expressionist movie. It's really a wild building at MIT. But in working with Peter, I would just say to him, hey, can you get me, do you have a photo of this or that building? And he would. But then I also did historical research on historical photos. And so there are pictures and drawings going all the way back to colonial times. I'm sure you won't be able to see this very well, but this is an illustration of the Battle of Lexington in April 19, 1775. But here's a historical image. So the book's full of these types of images.
It's really neat. One of our viewers, Dan, Rita, mentioned that she likes audiobooks. I had a little conversation with you last night. So you said you might look into being able to do some sort of audiobook. It's not available now, but possibly in the future.
So I would love to do that. And if anyone has a really good way of doing it, I'd love to hear. I don't have the audiobook right now, and it's not a service that my publisher offers. And so people say, well, why don't you just read it? But it's 800 pages, and I just don't have the voice to read 800 pages out loud. And I think hiring a professional to read 800 pages would be enormously expensive. But if someone knows a good way of reading an 800-page book out loud, that's not too expensive, I'd love to hear about it.
Emily Liz says you should totally do an audiobook. Let's see here. All right, guys, it's getting late for Dan because he has a law firm to run.
No, it's Friday, but my son is at a soccer camp he's going to early in the morning. But I can take a few more questions.
A couple more questions. Last questions. Dan has been so nice to come on and answer questions. So let me also look on the Twitch chat and see if there's any over there. Let's see. Oh, 586 Smoker on Twitch says, wow, Boston was made of landfill. Now, there's lots of areas in Boston, right, Dan, that have just been filled in over the years. So do you want to just mention some of the prominent areas, Yeah,
so Boston was a tiny peninsula surrounded by water, connected to the land by what was called the Boston Neck. And if, by the end of the colonial time, the population was bursting. And so there used to be an area called the Tri-Mountain, which was 3 mountains in the middle of Boston, Mount Vernon, Beacon Hill, and Pemberton Hill. And so in order to build on those hills, they cut them down about half their height and used the dirt from it to fill in along the waterfront and along the wharfs, greatly expanding that. But as the population of the city grew further, and particularly with Irish immigrants coming and the Yankee Protestants wanting to flee them, they used landfill from the hills of Boston first, and then from hills outside of Boston to fill in what became the South End, and then Back Bay was an enormous project taking like 30 years. But East Boston was a series of islands that gets filled in. South Boston today was a small peninsula off of Dorchester. So most of the downtown area of Boston, Back Bay, South End, that is mostly or all landfill. Interestingly, this is why I start off with the geologic history of Boston, is that the drumlins, the hills around Boston, are made of gravel. They're not made of bedrock. And it's deposits from when the glaciers retreated 10,000 years ago. And because these hills are made of gravel, it meant that you could dig them out and use the gravel from the hills around Boston to fill in the water. If they were not glacial deposits, if they were not drumlins, but were actually, bedrock, granite hills, you would never have been able to use it would have been too hard in colonial and in the 19th century.
That's interesting.
To blast bedrock in order to use
really
it
interesting.
Landfill. But Boston today also is a product of what's called the annexation movement. So the towns around Boston. There's a good
Hang on one second.
question about Brookline being incorporated into Boston. So Dorchester, Roxbury, West Roxbury, Alston, Brighton, Hyde Park were all separate towns that voted to become annexed into Boston. And there was a vote in Brookline, and Brookline was the first to say no, and that essentially ended the annexation movement. Brookline was made up of Yankee Protestants who were fleeing the arrival of the Irish, and they had just left Boston and were not interested in coming back in and being part of a city with Irish Catholics. So the annexation movement ends, and that's where you get the political boundaries of Boston today.
Dan, do you have like a social media people can reach you at or anything? I don't know if you have anything like that. Is there like a Facebook author page or?
So my law firm, I had my marketing coordinator set up a page on my law firm website so people could get some information.
Okay. What is it? Do you remember what it is? I could put it in the chat.
So it's www. and then the name of my law firm.com. So the law firm is Dain Torpy, which is DAIN.
Yes.
TORPY.
TORPY.
Yep. DAIN TORPY.
Yes.
.com, and there's a page there that has some of the reviews and some of the live events and otherwise.
Okay. I'm going to look it up right now.
My marketing coordinator setting up. We've been posting she's been posting a lot on LinkedIn. You can also find my law firm on LinkedIn, which has a lot of information about the book. My publicist, Lissa Warren, has been doing a lot of tweeting or Xing or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly adept at social media, so
you could have them set up just a page for you on Twitter, just a page where people could reach out to you, if they wanted to reach out to you, kind of thing. I don't think it's hard to set up a Twitter profile or a Facebook profile, just not your personal one, it's just a thought I had, because maybe somebody is I want to get in touch with Dan and ask him some question about Boston, or I have some proposal for him.
It's a great idea. I actually started using Twitter for the first time just a week ago. So
okay.
That's actually how far behind the time I am. But I love questions about Boston. So if you go to my firm's website, you'll see my email on there. And if people have more questions about Boston, absolutely just shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to answer them.
And by the way, this chat is going to end in 4 minutes. The Zoom call again is going to end in 4 minutes. So I'm just giving you a heads up. And again, Twitter/X. Again, real quick, I have put the link to Dan's book, A History of Boston. It's out in hardcover and it's on Kindle. I've put the link in the chat at the top of both chats. If you like what Dan's talking about, it has all kinds of has politics, has the history, has geology, war stuff, music, sports, has all kinds of stuff in there. Religion, social history, civil rights movement. There's all this stuff in this book about Boston, so it's super neat. If anybody's interested, you can check the link. Dan, do you have any last questions you want to try to pick out and answer in our last couple minutes? Anything you see?
I'm happy to take one more. You want to pick one out?
Oh, real quick, one more question. Oh, so much pressure. Oh, somebody really quick on Twitch, Schwett said, I don't know what this is, Dan. Hey, Dan, can you quickly cover the real story of Harvard Bridge and Smoots? I don't know what that is. Is that a real thing or not? Do you know?
Yeah. So Smoot, I forget what his first name was. It's in my book. He was just a guy at MIT, and they decided as essentially a joke that they were going to use him as a unit of measurement to measure the bridge. And so they had him lie down, and they took a mark, from one end of it to the next. And then he moved again and lay down again, and they measured that. And then he got up and moved again, and Smoot lay down all the way across the bridge. And so they measured how long the bridge was in smoots. And so a smoot became a unit of measurement, kind of as a joke. And ironically, later in his life, he got a job in the working for the United States government, and like he became director of like measure units and measures. So he ended up spending his entire life in measurements. But smoot became sort of a joke unit of measurement from MIT.
Very cool. Dan, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. People had such a good time. What you can do, Dan, if you want, because I haven't even been able to read all the chat. A lot of people have been saying stuff in the chat. Like after the broadcast, like 5-10 minutes after, the live chat is available. So sometime in the future, when you have a few minutes, you can go back and read the chat and any stuff, because people were like thanking you and saying things about your stories and stuff like that. So if you ever want to go back and read the chat, it's all saved on it's saved on the broadcast.
Steve, it's always awesome to see you and connect with you, and had a lot of fun.
It'd be good, you know. Josh has come on this broadcast on this show before, but you never have. It'd be good to have you on some other time and just to like hang out for a little while and talk about whatever. Because I've done that with Josh and it's super fun. So
we haven't done enough Boston sports, so we can do Boston sports next time.
We should have you and Josh on at the same time. Steve, and Alec.
Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Good luck with the book. This was great. I'll talk to you soon, but this was awesome. Thank you, Dan. Good. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye. Well, that was super fun. That was good. I could listen to him talk about it like all day. Hold on. I got to get my headphones off. But it's super interesting. He's a great guy. He's one of my best friends. And it's also, all the stories are so interesting. So I appreciate you guys asking him questions. Oh, and all your kind words. Hold on. I got to reset myself. Yeah, sorry he couldn't get to everything. You know, there's a lot of comments. A lot of comments in the chat. But he'll go back and read them. But I'm glad people liked it. It's really cool. I need to get the Kindle version. That's what I got to get. I do a lot of my reading online now. T-Sky said, how long did it take to write the manuscript? I don't have, T-Sky, I know it's something he was working on for years. I want to say like 5 years or something. But it's just something he was doing on his own. And like he didn't originally plan on making it into a book. And then he started getting so into it, he was like, I should make this into a book. And he didn't know if anybody would publish it. And he got a publisher for it. So it's really cool to see it happening. Oh, thanks, SL. I appreciate that. Thanks, SL. Some good questions too. So I'm so glad we got to do it. Yeah, we were both born and raised in the suburb of Boston called Newton. Anyways, I hope if any of you get the book, let me know how you like it. I'm sure you'll enjoy it though. That was fun. I also I got to look up the thing that he mentioned, which is called Halifax explosion, which is crazy, which I knew nothing about. The Halifax explosion. This was in 1917 in Canada. At least 1,782 people were killed. Wow. An estimated 9,000 others were injured. It was the largest human-made explosion at the time. 2 ships collided. So now I got to look. I think there's some videos like on YouTube about this, which I'm going to watch. Alibaba says some crazy info is how far the blast sent items. Oh yeah, I haven't, because like I'm a lazy person, I haven't gotten the book yet. I'm gonna get, I think, the Kindle version. Okay. Hang on one moment here. Oh, John said I mentioned that story to you on Patreon chat several months ago. I don't remember it, John. I wish I remembered it. John, you also mentioned that we had a conversation about the molasses explosion in Patreon. I think that's where I first heard about it. Oh, some rockets are being fired from Gaza into Israel, I guess. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. I will keep an eye out on that. Yeah, I don't cover on Agenda Free TV all rocket fire from Gaza into Israel because it happens kind of regularly. But I will be keeping an eye on it. After the stream, I'll kind of read up on it and stuff. Okay. All right. Well, that was super fun. And JA&P says, I actually have a Kindle book on the Halifax explosion. Marin Gobra says, this is the day after the anniversary of the Yom Kippur Accords. Oops. Karen Griswold says it was... Oh, the tree. Hey, to update you on the tree, look at what happened with the tree, guys. The tree blossomed a little bit. Hang on, I'll show you. The tree blossomed a little bit. Oh, no, I just spilled some water. Let me show you on my phone. The tree did start blossoming a bit. I forgot about the tree. It didn't do that great a job, but I probably set it up wrong. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, that's not it, clearly. Hold on. Can I do this? There, hold on, you'll see it right now. There, see, it blossomed a little bit. So, there you go. All right, I should wrap up this stream and I should check out what's going on in Gaza just to make sure, you know, I gotta catch up on that. Who knows? Maybe we'll do some coverage. Let me go check up on what's going on in Gaza. So, hey, I really appreciate you guys joining the stream tonight. This was super fun. Thanks for asking Dan all those questions. You guys were awesome. Thanks to all of our moderators. You guys are fantastic. JA&P, K Body, Raven Riley. Thank you. And all of our other moderators who've been here over there on Twitch. David Green and Skip Fu, thank you for moderating there. Thanks so much for the donations and the gift memberships. Rita, thank you so much, Rita. SL, Winding Road, Gordon Gott. I hope I thanked Winding. I think I didn't thank Winding Road before. Sorry, Winding Road. Gordon Gott, Donna Smith, our new members, I Hear Crickets, Theodore Johnson, Kevin Michael Reed for the gift memberships, Walter Beasley and MSU Kiwi, thank you. And all of our members, thank you. And all of you for tuning in and all of you for on Twitch and YouTube for all of your comments and everything. Dan had a great time. Dan had a great time. He said, great questions for from the audience. So Dan was he just texted me. That was great. All right, I'm going to get off so I can just kind of figure out what's going on with this Gaza stuff, okay? So, guys, thank you again. Everybody over there in the chat, SL, Dillamon, Leonette, Lynn Halifax, Marin Gobra, Raven Riley was modding too, Emily Liz, 40 Love Style, P Morph, Neeby, Miss Holly, Freak One, Coley Nova, K Body was modding too, JA and P modding, thank you. Leon Reuter, Trace, over there on Twitch, thank you, and all of our viewers. All right, so let me get off and figure that out. Thank you guys for watching. I think tomorrow afternoon I'm going to be doing an assembly stream, but keep your ear out. Follow Lookner channel on Twitter. That is it. Thanks so much to Dan for coming on. Dan was amazing, and we'll see you all very, very soon.